the really, really special. So, well, next we have one of our newer employees here at Malvern Books, and I've gotten to know him over the last few months, and I'm really, really anxious to hear him read because I haven't heard any of his stuff before. So, without further ado, let me just introduce Mathew. I don't know your last name. What's your last name, Mathew?
Hodges.
Mathew Hodges.
Thanks for having me. I'm going to read a snippet of a short story that I wrote. It's going to start at the beginning and end in the middle. And it's about a man at the edge. And you're going to meet his brother and his true love. And he's trying to decide if he's going to tie the knot, which could mean a few different things. We'll see how it goes. It's called Indian Rope Burn. See Carl sitting cross-legged in the snow. See Carl in the snow for almost long enough to numb the feeling. Carl, Carl, shh, shh. Carl whispered and watched the vapor from his breath curl around his raised index finger. See Carl's eyes bulging and bloodshot. Shh. Carl put his finger to his lips and reclined his thumb. He made a pistol with his hand, leveled his arm, and aimed at the oak tree across the street. He sighted it up and down, shifted his weight, and scanned the length of the street, staring down the barrel of his index finger. This happened to be a pleasant neighborhood, tinseled and bright for the holidays. Father shoveled the walks with a proud sense of purpose. Children used snow as instruments of war. Holly wreaths hung to welcome lovers, family, and friends. Across the street, a reindeer, composed of rope light, raised and lowered its head, as if in silent agreement with the directives of the pagan god of Christmas. Carl aimed for its head and paused. He felt peace. Then the voices returned. They said, "Carl, come on. You are not the devil, but you have let the devil in. You have felt the orangutan-colored boil of the devil's wind. You have known the seasoning used on hell's evening meal. Carl, you are not the devil. You have seen the outline of the devil's penis. Carl, shh. This is a pleasant neighborhood. Families, Volvos, young creatives, tall oak trees. It was a quiet night, and across the street, Namath was making a snow angel. On his back, extending his limbs, blue snowsuit and mittens staring up at a tree. He shook his hair up the snow and stood up. You've got to move. 3 pink notices taped to his door and warped by the snow warned his landlord to pave the sidewalk. 4 flights of stairs, turn the knob and find the switch. Carl blew into his palms and rubbed them together. He surveyed his apartment. His apartment was a cobbled monument to the discarded brazier. White, lace, frill, plain, plum with pink lace, pumice with contour cups, bright with little ribbons, red with a front clasp, a leopard-colored number common to anniversaries or dates with oysters. They were strewn across the nightstand, stepped over across the floor, clumped behind the bed, slumped over the dresser, or hanging off a chair in 2 different sizes. Before and after, they decided no more birth control. It hurt to remember Anna, her brown eyes. It hurt to remember how they'd picked the names. Bought a book on feng shui to arrange the furniture, how she lit sage after a bad afternoon. He missed, especially, the morning he'd come home after he'd brought coffees, when she raised her foot from the bed and purred, "Good morning, love," and curled it down like a child's fist and waved hello with her toes. But Carl didn't leave the apartment if he could help it. I mean, why go outside if it meant having to tell a stranger with a clipboard that you did not have time to help the children? This was a safe, familiar place. He heard a cold breeze through the window blow across the high ceiling and exposed rafters, a living room with loft-like sensibilities. He left the litter box next to the toilet, raked like a Japanese rock garden. Cats out of the ears in those days she could not resist. Anna would bring them home from the Humane Society, and hers was a feline strut where she walked high-stepping tomcats followed behind in parade. She grew up on an army base, and house cats made her feel at home. On his watch all day, cats would yawn and lounge. Carl and Anna would watch them and laugh. For a while it was okay. All in all, they were not bad. Except for Jasper's. Mangy, gray, and blind in one eye, Jasper's was a cagey, bellicose cat who snapped at Carl's heels when he walked to the bathroom, who pissed on the insulation, who vomited gray-yellow bits of anything that wasn't specifically whisker lickums. If Carl looked up, Carl looked up. Either the ceiling fan ricketing or the metal rafters waiting, what's it matter, it's enough, no more surveying. Okay, said Carl, as he stepped over a broken mirror and an overturned chair. Sideways on the edge of the chair lay the hammer his dad had given him after he graduated high school. It was the last time they'd spoken. His dad was a Christian. "300-pounder who could seize celebration like a ball from the air." Carl walked to the nightstand in a fit of blinks and twitches, picked up a bra with both hands, palms up like an offering, and set it gently on the bed. Sweat. Clams. He had clams, clammy, shaking, sweating hands with palm lines a man perspired to the point of saturation. He put his pants on backwards and then took them off. He threw a scarf around the collar of his chambray shirt and put the pants on backwards again. Why is Carl so nervous? Tonight's a big night and Carl can't keep his legs from shaking. He stumbled to the kitchen and poured a glass from the bottle of Rika. He held the bottle to his eye like a frozen steak to quell the swelling. But Carl learned early that vodka doesn't freeze. He and his brother Dennis used to stay up in the dining room, pretending to play skip-bo, until the glorious click of their parents' bedroom door. Shh. Dennis would hold his finger to his lips. Carl would move the dining room chair in tiny triumphant increments, silent mini-inch by silent mini-inch toward the freezer. A brave campaign to the heart of darkness. Dennis in his ninja footies. So Carl leans forward, 11-year-old elbows extended, legs bent. Steady forward march, pushing ahead the convoy as the cold white expanse grows larger and hums louder with every marching step forward. A tiny recreational activity, a small-scale production of Russian occupation. They took tiny gulps and coughed. They laughed into each other's shoulders. They laughed their heads off and punched each other. And then they tiptoed from the basement back to the kitchen sink, replaced the missing with water, and later in their bunk beds congratulated each other as extraordinary cat burglars. Then their dad found a quarter frozen pint of vodka. There was a bell to some blunt object. Now, if we were to ask Carl about his 3 guns, a black .22 Magnum Derringer Standard, a Swift Colt .25 automatic, and a copper-tinged 12-gauge nicknamed Cronkite McDaniels, Salami Diaspora, and Jennifer Connolly, respectively, he won't tell you where they're hidden in 2 kitchen cupboards and under the sink, or that he owns 3 guns but never bought a bullet. And something else is hidden. A diamond ring in a black velvet box. Carl winced. He shut the drawer slowly and picked up a bra from the bed before he tried to set it as naturally as he could where it was hanging before. He walked crunch by crunch over bits of broken mirror to his shoes and kneeled down. Now, how do you tie shoes again? Oh, 2 separate strands, looped and laid on top of each other. Then one gets pulled out, strung out, and put inside the other one. It was getting dark. The reindeer kept nodding, but Nana's Angel was buried in snow. His truck stalled. Now, how do you start a truck again? Oh, You stick in the jagged object, Carl, and then you twist. As Carl changed lanes erratically, driving north on 21, he passed the Lowell exit, a small mill town where he and Dennis passed their adolescence throwing rocks wherever they could. They threw rocks in the pond in the afternoon and gave each other Indian rope burns to prove who would be the warrior chief. The true test of a man, the Indian rope burn. Being pulled in two different directions simultaneously and at a vicious speed. Even though he used to be 2 years younger, Dennis used to wrap his arms around Carl's arm and set it on fire. They'd have burns on their arms for a week. Thank you.